If you have money sitting in a traditional savings account right now, I need you to understand something important. That money is losing value, not because of a market crash, not because of a bad investment decision, but because of a slow, invisible process that most banks have absolutely no incentive to explain to you. The national average interest rate on a traditional savings account is 0.46%, according to the FDIC. The current rate of inflation in the United States, as measured by the Consumer Price Index, is running at approximately 2.8 to 3.2% annually as of early 2026. That gap, the difference between what your savings earns and what inflation costs you, is your real return. And right now, for most Americans with money in a standard savings account, that real return is deeply negative. In this video, I am going to show you the exact dollar impact of that gap on specific savings amounts, identify the account types that are actively working against you, and give you the specific inflation-beating tools, including I-bonds, tips, and high-yield savings accounts that can turn a negative real return into a positive one starting today. Before we go further, everything in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not financial advice, investment advice, or a guarantee of any specific outcome. Inflation rates, interest rates, and investment returns change over time and vary by individual circumstance. I am not a licensed financial advisor. Please consult a qualified financial professional before making any decisions about your savings or investments. With that said, let's get into the numbers. Let me start with what inflation actually means in practical terms, because most people understand it as a concept but have never seen it applied to their own savings balance. Inflation is the rate at which the purchasing power of a dollar declines over time. When inflation runs at 3% per year, something that cost you $100 today will cost you $103 next year, and $106 the year after. The dollar amount in your account stays the same, but what that dollar amount can actually purchase shrinks every single year that inflation runs above zero. Now, apply that to a savings balance. If you have $10,000 in a traditional bank savings account earning 0.46%, the FDIC national average, and inflation is running at 3%, your account grows from $10,000 to $10,046 in 1 year. But the purchasing power of that $10,000 has been reduced by approximately $300. Your nominal balance went up by $46. Your real purchasing power went down by roughly $254 in a single year. On $20,000, the nominal gain is $92. The real purchasing power loss is approximately $508 in a single year. On money you are actively trying to protect. On $50,000 in a traditional savings account at 0.46% with 3% inflation, the real purchasing power loss over a single year is approximately $1,270. Gone. Not from a market drop, not from a bad decision, from simply leaving money in the wrong account while inflation ran its course. Over 5 years, the compounding effect of this negative real return becomes significantly more damaging. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics CPI inflation calculator, $50,000 from 2021 has the purchasing power of approximately $43,500 in 2026, a loss of over $6,500 in real value over just 5 years. That is not hypothetical. That is documented by government data. And here is what makes this particularly concerning. Most Americans have no idea this is happening to them. The balance in their account looks stable. The number is not going down. There is no alert, no notification, no statement line that says your real purchasing power decreased by $1,200 this year. It is completely invisible, which is exactly why it is so dangerous. Now let us move to the math, because understanding real return is what separates people who protect their savings from people who do not. Real return is the formula that tells you how your money is actually performing after inflation is accounted for. The simplified formula is straightforward. Real return equals your nominal interest rate minus the inflation rate. If your savings account pays 0.46% and inflation is 3%, your real return is 0.46 minus 3.00, which equals negative 2.54%. That number, negative 2.54%, is the true annual return on a traditional savings account right now, not positive 0.46, negative 2.54. The difference between those two numbers is the gap that is silently reducing your purchasing power every single day your money sits in that account. Now let us compare that against other savings vehicles to see where the real return actually goes positive. A high-yield savings account at an online bank, Ally, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, or Synchrony, currently offers between 4.5 and 5.2% annual percentage yield. With inflation at 3%, the real return on a high-yield savings account is approximately positive 1.5 to 2.2%. That's the difference between losing purchasing power every year and gaining it. A Series I savings bond, commonly called an I-bond, is specifically designed to beat inflation. The I-bond interest rate is composed of a fixed rate plus an inflation adjustment that is recalculated every 6 months based on the CPI. As of early 2026, the composite I-bond rate is approximately 4.28%. That is a real return of approximately positive 1.0 to 1.5%, with the unique feature that the inflation component of the rate adjusts automatically as inflation changes. Your real return is structurally protected. A 10-year Treasury inflation-protected security, commonly called TIPS, currently yields approximately 1.9 to 2.1% above inflation. That is a guaranteed positive real return backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. And a diversified index fund tracking the S&P 500 has historically returned approximately 10% nominally, which translates to approximately 7% real return after a 3% inflation assumption. That is not guaranteed. It involves market risk and volatility, and it requires a long time horizon to smooth out downturns. But over 10 and 20-year periods, equity investment has been the most powerful inflation-beating tool in American financial history. The point of this comparison is not to tell you where to put your money. It is to show you that the gap between a traditional savings account and an inflation-beating alternative is not a small optimization. It is the difference between a negative 2.5% real return and a positive 1.5 to 7% real return. That gap, compounded over years, represents tens of thousands of dollars on a meaningful savings balance. But here is what nobody is telling you. The accounts most Americans use to protect their money are the exact same accounts producing the worst real returns. And understanding which specific account types are the biggest inflation traps is what allows you to move your money into the right vehicles quickly and permanently. I am going to walk you through exactly which accounts to move away from and which ones to move toward right now. And if this is genuinely useful to you, subscribe right now. We release financial investigations exactly like this 3 times every week. Free, specific, actionable, so you never miss a tool that could protect your money. Let me walk through the 4 most common inflation traps that are quietly reducing the real value of American savings right now. Inflation trap number 1. Traditional savings accounts at major banks. We have already established that the national average rate is 0.46%, but it is even worse at the largest institutions. According to Bankrate's 2025 National Average Survey, Chase Bank's standard savings account pays 0.01%. Bank of America's standard rate is 0.01%. Wells Fargo's standard savings rate is also 0.01%. 0.01%. With inflation at 3%, the real return on money sitting in these accounts is negative 2.99% per year. You are effectively paying the bank to hold your money, in purchasing power terms. Inflation trap number 2. Money market accounts at traditional banks. Many people believe money market accounts offer meaningfully better rates than savings accounts. At traditional banks, they often do not. The national average money market rate is approximately 0.64%, according to the FDIC. Better than 0.46, but still producing a deeply negative real return. This is a trap because the name sounds sophisticated and institutional, which creates a false sense that the money is working hard when it is not. Inflation trap number 3. Certificates of deposit with long lock-in periods at low rates. Many Americans bought 5-year CDs during 2020 and 2021 when rates were near historic lows, sometimes locking in 0.5 to 1% for 5 years. Those CDs are now trapped, earning rates far below inflation for their entire term. The lesson here is structural. Locking into long-term instruments at low nominal rates without considering the inflation environment is one of the most costly savings mistakes possible. Inflation trap number 4. Cash savings held outside any interest-bearing account. According to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, approximately 13% of American households hold cash savings outside of bank accounts entirely, in physical cash or non-interest-bearing checking accounts. Physical cash earns 0%. Its real return is exactly equal to negative the inflation rate. Every year that cash sits idle, it loses 3% of its purchasing power. These 4 traps together represent the financial reality of tens of millions of American households right now. And in most cases, the solution is not complicated. It is simply a matter of moving the money. Stay with me, because this next section is the most important part of the entire video. I am going to show you 4 specific tools that are specifically designed to beat inflation. All of them available to any American right now, some of them backed directly by the U.S. Treasury, and most of them requiring nothing more than an online account to access. Let's get into them. Solution number 1. High-yield savings accounts, or HYSAs. A high-yield savings account at an online bank is the single most accessible upgrade available to anyone currently in a traditional savings account. Online banks, Ally Bank, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, Synchrony Bank, American Express National Bank, and Discover Bank currently offer annual percentage yields between 4.5 and 5.2% as of early 2026, according to Bankrate. The money is FDIC insured up to $250,000, exactly the same protection as a traditional bank account. There are no account minimums at most of these institutions. The accounts are opened online in minutes. And the only difference between a high-yield savings account and a traditional savings account, in terms of how they function, is the interest rate. One earns 0.01%. The other earns 4.5 to 5.2%. The mechanics are identical. For emergency funds, short-term savings goals, or any cash you want to keep accessible while protecting its purchasing power, a high-yield savings account is the clearest first move available. Solution number 2. Series I Savings Bonds, I-bonds. I-bonds are issued directly by the U.S. Treasury and are specifically structured to protect against inflation. The interest rate on an I-bond is made up of 2 components: a fixed rate that stays constant for the life of the bond, and an inflation adjustment that resets every 6 months based on the Consumer Price Index. When inflation rises, the I-bond rate rises automatically. When inflation falls, the rate adjusts downward. As of early 2026, the composite I-bond rate is approximately 4.28%. The purchase limit is $10,000 per person per year through treasurydirect.gov, plus an additional $5,000 if purchased with a federal tax refund. I-bonds must be held for at least 1 year before redemption, and if redeemed before 5 years, you forfeit the last 3 months of interest. For savings you do not need immediate access to, a secondary emergency fund, savings earmarked for a goal 2 to 5 years away, I-bonds are one of the most powerful inflation protection tools available to individual Americans. They are backed by the U.S. government. They automatically adjust with inflation, and they are tax-deferred federally until redemption, with no state income tax on the interest. Solution number 3, Treasury Inflation-Protected Securities, TIPS. TIPS are U.S. Treasury securities whose principal value adjusts with the Consumer Price Index. When inflation rises, the principal of a TIPS bond increases. When inflation falls, the principal decreases but never below the original face value at maturity. The coupon payments you receive are calculated as a fixed percentage of the adjusted principal, so they also rise with inflation. As of early 2026, 10-year TIPS are yielding approximately 1.9 to 2.1% above inflation, a guaranteed positive real return backed by the U.S. government. TIPS can be purchased directly at treasurydirect.gov or through a brokerage account as individual bonds or through TIPS mutual funds and ETFs. The iShares TIPS Bond ETF, ticker TIP, is one of the most widely used. TIPS are most appropriate for money with a medium to long time horizon. The real return guarantee matters most over periods of 5 years or longer. They are particularly valuable for retirees or near retirees who need their savings to maintain purchasing power without taking significant market risk. Solution number 4, Broad Market Index Funds for long-term savings. For savings with a time horizon of 10 years or more, the most powerful inflation-beating tool in American financial history has been diversified equity investment through low-cost index funds. The S&P 500 has returned an average of approximately 10% nominally per year over the last 50 years, translating to approximately 7% real return after inflation. That is not a guarantee. It comes with volatility. There will be years of negative returns. But over long periods, broad equity investment has consistently outpaced inflation by a margin that no other asset class has matched for ordinary investors. A total market index fund at Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab charges between 0.00 and 0.04% annually. Accessible in a taxable brokerage account, an IRA, or a 401k. No minimum investment at most institutions. For money you will not need for 10 or more years, this is the category where purchasing power is not just preserved, it is grown. Here is your action plan. 5 steps, starting today. Step 1. Check your current savings account rate right now. Log into your bank account, go to Account Details or Account Summary, and find the annual percentage yield listed for your savings account. Write down the number. If it is under 1%, you are in an inflation trap. Step 2. Calculate your real return. Take your current APY and subtract your estimate of current inflation, approximately 3% as of early 2026. If the result is negative, your savings are losing purchasing power every single day. Step 3. Open a high-yield savings account. If your current savings rate is producing a negative real return, open an HYSA at Ally, Marcus, Synchrony, American Express, National Bank, or Discover. Most take under 10 minutes online. Transfer your emergency fund and any liquid short-term savings there. This is the most immediate and accessible step. Step 4. Consider I-bonds for savings you will not need for at least 1 year. Go to treasurydirect.gov and create a free account. You can purchase up to $10,000 in I-bonds per calendar year. For a secondary emergency fund or savings with a 1 to 5 year horizon, I-bonds are one of the most powerful inflation protection tools available. Step 5. For savings with a 10-year or longer horizon, ensure those funds are invested, not sitting in cash. A total market index fund in a brokerage account, IRA, or 401k puts long-term savings into the category that has historically beaten inflation by the widest margin over time. The sequence matters. Emergency fund in HYSA, medium-term savings in I-bonds or TIPS, long-term savings in equities. That is the inflation protection stack that financial planners have used for decades. And all of it is accessible to any American today. Before we close, one final reminder. Everything in this video is for educational purposes only. Inflation rates and interest rates change. Investment returns are not guaranteed. FDIC insurance protects deposits up to $250,000 per depositor per institution, not investment accounts. I-bonds and TIPS involve specific rules and liquidity constraints. Please consult a qualified financial professional before making any changes to how your savings are held or invested. But here is what I want you to take from this. Inflation does not ask for permission. It does not send a bill. It does not generate an alert in your banking app. It simply, quietly, steadily reduces the purchasing power of every dollar you have sitting in the wrong account. Day after day, year after year, while everything looks fine on the surface. You now know what is happening. You know how to measure it with the real return formula. You know which accounts are working against you. And you know the 4 specific tools, high-yield savings accounts, I-bonds, TIPS, and index funds that can turn a negative real return into a positive one. That knowledge is worth acting on. If this video gave you clarity on something that was silently hurting your finances, subscribe right now. We release financial investigations exactly like this 3 times every single week. And tell me in the comments, before watching this, did you know your savings account had a negative real return? Comment yes or no below. I read every single comment. I will see you in the next one.